Jones gives it to Corey Kiner, charges straight up the middle and runs into the end zone, standing up, giving him 100 yards and giving the Bearcats a 16-7 lead. Newman has the ball, takes a pass toward the corner, does it again, passes to Bandego. Aziz outside the arc. Now Lukosius curls off a screen, shoots a three, makes it. He made it. 3 seconds to go. The Bearcats up by 1. San Francisco launches from center court. No good. Simas Lukosius.
His 5th plate appearance tonight. He swings and hits it high and deep to left field. Goodbye, home run. Carrington Cross. A 3-run shot. And it's now 7-3 Cincinnati.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the GoBeercats podcast, part of the Catskeller Social Club and member of the College Huddle community. I'm Brandon. He's Darin with a new Den background for you right there with the name at the top. I love that. Darin, welcome in, good sir. How's it been going?
Good, yeah. Shout out to Brendan Train for hooking me up. He can't say, if anything, that he watches and he plans. So I'm sure he noticed how I sit in the picture and, where the representation is. So
love it. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. I like it a lot. Right above the name. Yeah, very nice. You should have been like Darren Russell, Den and ambassador, right? Like up in the corner there. That would have been there permanently. I like that a lot. Well, we are back again, good sir. We have we're 6 weeks away, 6 Saturdays away from college football. Got a lot of things happening, starting to like really kick in for football season. Media days, we'll talk about that here in a little bit. We got Big 12 Media Days coming up here this week in Vegas. But what we're really going to dive into today, and sort of the topic of the conversation, is all of the new look conferences around college football, not just college football, but just college athletics in general. I feel like that meme from It's Always Sunny when he's like got the strings and the board and like he's just like smoking a cigarette, he's just like freaking out. Like that's we're trying to clear this up for some people, kind of give our thoughts on some of this realignment that we will see like live and in person started July 1st and definitely here in the football season. So sort of like line us up, get us kicked off here. What do you have lined up for us here in this conference, new look conferences conversation?
Yeah, no, we're just kind of going conference by conference and seeing who's new to the conference this year, just to who's where, and then a little bit about them. Well, obviously, we won't probably touch too much on the Four Corner schools that joined, but yeah, I mean, everybody's getting a look today.
Yeah, we jumped into those pretty heavily. If you want to, go back and watch those episodes, we brought you in-depth sort of coverage of those four for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Darren, I don't know if you're drinking anything before we really jump into it here, but I have my beautiful Cincy Light. Ooh, strawberries and cream.
You wonder how, huh?
You get a little porch bomb, or what happened there?
My brother and his wife came down to visit for 4th of July weekend, and I think Thursday before they headed out, I'm like, hey, are you in Cincinnati? Mom and dad's. He's like, yeah. I'm like, can you try to get me some beers? I gave him a few different options, and this is one he could find. I was very curious to try it because it sounded good, at least when you had it the other week.
Yeah, I was going to say, I just had that a couple weeks ago. Yeah, it was good.
He brought me this in a party box of Gruppos. So we were able to procure Skyline down here. They do sell it in the Kroger next to us. So that is good.
Beautiful. Yeah, I got this Cincy Light koozie, which is hilarious because it's just like identical to the can. So it's just like the Spider-Man meme here. It's like, what's the difference? I guess it doesn't say Cincy Reigns on it, but I was like, I even though it's exactly the same as the print on the can, I got to have it. So $2 well spent. So we have our drinks in hands. Are we kicking things off with our old conference? Is that how we're going to do this?
Yeah, we're looking at the American, fond place in our heart, remain not so fond, depending on who you are, I guess. Not too many changes with them, but Army joins them. They, as most people know, for the longest were independent. So you know, they that obviously kind of puts them in line with the Army Navy game, but they're not really changing that. It's always going to be at the end of the year for them still.
Okay.
The whole conference, even last year, was pretty new and shuffled.
Yeah.
But looking at Army, I mean, they were 6-6 last year. So I mean, not great, but not terrible either. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, 6-6 is average, really. And when it comes to the NCAA, they lost their early game last year, 1-2, and then just went on like a 5-game skid, where they really seemed to figure things out at the end of the year, because they start off of that 4-game win run with a win over Air Force when they were number 25, and they dominated them. Where they was, I think it's 23. They beat them by 20 points. So, beat Holy Cross, a little tune-up game. Although they challenged them, they were I think it was like 17-4 team. So, not as easy as one might think. Beat Coastal Carolina, and then finished off Army Navy game, won that one. So I mean, to kind of turn it around and beat your rivals to end the season is a good thing. So hopefully that means they figured some things out, and they pose a good threat to the conference.
The American just looks completely different now. I mean, holy cow! Like, just there's, it just doesn't. It doesn't even really feel anything like it was 2 years ago.
Conference USA Junior, at least Conference USA, 2.0 Junior.
Yeah, I mean, so they're bringing Army in to plug SMU, right?
Yes.
SMU. Like we'll talk about the ACC here in a second, but which is, I mean, just a wild. It's not even the wildest thing the ACC has done recently, adding a Texas school, because that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, just going down through the schools here, it's just crazy how different these logos are. UTSA, like Rice, North Texas, Charlotte, like UAB, North. Like, it's just crazy that it's that different from 2 years ago. But
I mean, they pretty much poached most of Conference USA for that. I mean, you're probably gonna have a very competitive conference at this point. I would probably look to see USF try to run away with it. Them and Memphis really try to run away with it this year.
You would think so. Like Tulane was up there for a while, but I don't know how things are going down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, you lose veteran presence, you lose a good coach, if I'm not mistaken.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Biff Pokey, they seem to be in Charlotte. They seem to really be rallying around them. So, plus just awesome name and awesome presence, the Sleeveless Wonder. But yeah, it's we'll probably obviously keep an eye on that from afar, just because relations.
Yeah.
But yeah, circling over to ACC, plenty of changes here. They take on Cal, SMU, Stanford. Cal, Pac-12 last year, known for cannibalizing itself immensely. Cal was 6-6, so one of their better seasons as of late. And they did win they lost their bowl game last year to Texas Tech. But again, Pac-12 competitive, cannibalistic tendencies. I don't know if that's going to carry over to the ACC. They're probably going to be a bottom feeder if they aren't trending upwards in this case. And if their talent's not going to keep up, we'll see. SMU, probably the biggest team out there thumping their chest when it comes to joining the ACC. They really kind of bought their way in.
Not legit,
not necessarily that they paid them a crap ton, but they could eat the loss of money that they will not receive for a while. They can keep themselves afloat as a program. So,
I mean, do you see this as just is this desperation for the ACC?
it's to keep them together. They brought in 3 extra no votes essentially to dissolve the conference.
Yeah, was that you that said that last week,
Yeah.
yeah? Like I just had never heard that, so I thought you sounded like a genius there. But yeah, you were, you're, and then I was like, oh yeah, he's 100% spot on. Like obviously these 3 want to keep it together because
at that point, Cal and Stanford are going to be on their 3rd conference in 2 years at that point, and then SMU is going to have lost their elevation in status. So yeah, they're it's in their best interest to try to get the conference together.
Yeah, for sure.
They had a really good year last year. Give them credit where credit's due. They leave the American, obviously. 11-2 conference champs last year. They stole the crown from Tulane. They did lose the Fenway Bowl, as is a AAC tradition, to Boston College. So there's that. Like I said, the ACC seemed pretty welcoming to them, or at least the fans. As far as social media channel went, it seemed pretty welcoming, but they definitely tried to backtalk the UC fans for whatever reason. So it really, the Big 12 as a whole, which is very bold, as in, the 4 teams that used to kind of whoop up on you left. Which I'm pretty sure are 3 teams that whoop up on you left. I'm pretty sure I said that last week too. So, we'll see how they do. They're not slouches. They're definitely, I think they could gut their way out to a 6-6 win, but we'll see. And then last but not least, Stanford Cardinals. They lead the Pac-12. Not a great season last year. Their highlight is beating Colorado in that thrilling overtime. Win. And again, like I said, the Pac-12 had that vibe of cannibalizing itself. As they play their conference schedule the past few years. We'll see. That definitely raises, I'd say SMU, Cal, and Stanford really probably raise the academic standard of the conference. You got Virginia there already, good academic school as well. Yeah. Syracuse. So yeah, you wonder if Clemson and Florida State don't try to escape specifically. The SEC, as it stands, seems the best conference to hold their regionality, just because some of the best colleges are Southern schools, so they can make that jump and they can poach them from other leagues as they see fit. But a lot of these what you're going to notice is a lot of these conferences are ballooning in size, essentially. You're going to have 16, 14 team conferences. But how they play that is going to be interesting too, because as I'll point out later in the episode. But yeah, like I said, you probably see Clemson and Florida State probably really try to push for this. They've already had the lawsuits out there consistently. I know North Carolina also has had that ring. I think they want to leave. Miami is hoping to, that their former blue blood status really, can get them a home. But who knows if these, specifically the Big Ten and the SEC are looking to expand more at this point. Yeah, I think it really depends on what happens and how the money looks for them, the next few years, if it's worth it. All right, coming back on the Big 12, like I said, we covered these 4 schools pretty heavily in our road trip. Please check out those second to last 4 episodes we did. But no small feat: Arizona State, Arizona Wildcats, Colorado Buffalo, and the Utah Utes. We didn't get a chance to really kind of talk about ourselves in terms of what we're excited for. We really kind of let our guests do a lot of the talking in the last few episodes. But who are you excited for? Who are you excited for, and who are you least excited to play?
Utah is tough, and their fans have been atrocious so far. So I would probably give them my my vote of no confidence right there.
Yeah.
Out of those guys, my least favorite. I mean, the other three. I mean, I'm probably equally excited for different reasons. I mean, I'm sure we'll just when we play at Colorado this year. I mean, the media hype is there with Coach Prime, Deion Sanders there. I mean, Arizona for basketball is going to be crazy. We've talked about that when we talked about the Big 12 pairings, but I mean, some of these schools like we have a very little history with, and I think that's kind of cool. Sometimes the cool thing I guess about the realignment is getting to know those teams and starting fresh with a team that yet don't have a ton of history with. So I kind of like it from that aspect. What about you? You have same questions?
Yeah. I mean, Utah. I mean, they're probably one of the better teams coming in. Just stature wise. Arizona really seemed like they were figuring out last year, so they're going to be a tougher team. They return, based on what we're told, they return a decent amount of talent. So, I mean, we avoid both of them this year, luckily. Colorado's going to be interesting. I don't know if I'm making that road trip or not, but great view. Potentially. Yeah. So if I do, somehow find that in my plans, that'd be a fun thing to do.
Yeah, the running of the buffalo, so that sounds pretty cool. I mean, there's a lot of things that can go wrong, but the way that was described to us, I thought it'd be a pretty cool thing to witness live.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're always just interested. I mean, because the country's huge. Yeah. State from state, even culture can vary. So it's just going to be nice to get out there and experience some different things. Colorado always presents, if we're doing well, presents the opportunity for exposure, just because Deion Sanders brings those eyes to the game. If they live up to his hype, of course, that's anything can happen this season. You never know until you're there. But at least that's what I'm excited for currently. Moving on to the Big Ten. They add a lot and a lot of firepower, a lot of brands, really. I mean, first off, Oregon Ducks. They left the Pac-12, of course. 11-2 season last year. Could not get over the hump that was Washington. So they kind of had their number. I think if they win at least, honestly, they win either one of those. Maybe they go regardless to the CFP last year. But they just couldn't get it done against them. But still, I mean, the program is in a good spot. They're retaining their coach. He's like, I'm not leaving. He likes where he's at. They beat Liberty in the Fiesta Bowl last year. Kind of took out that frustration on them and really put a hurting on them. And then the quirky little news is Dylan Gabriel transfers to them. The man of three schools now at this point. When I saw that news a while back, I was like, he still has eligibility left. And even in preparing these notes, I had to go back and look and just kind of look at his timing again. He's actually not that old. He's 23 currently, so he's still well within that playing scope.
Yeah. So no, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Keep going.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I want to circle back to something in the ACC, but we can do that after we finish the Big 12.
Yeah.
Or Big 10, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's well with. I mean, because he got hurt during our CFP season, so and it was pretty early on because he got hurt on that during that Louisville game at the end of the game, and so they counted that as a medical red shirt. So he's got the time left still. After this, I'm sure he has to graduate though. I don't know if he's got any other extra time. He's like graduate with general studies too, so not going to knock the man. But hopefully he's got a plan for that if football doesn't work out. So
general medical degree or something.
Yeah, I mean to give him credit where credit is due, he, at the very least, is a game manager. And he's going to do what you ask him to do. He's not going to go stat chasing. He's going to do exactly what you need. But he's got the athleticism as well. So, I mean, there is an extra element to his game. It just doesn't seem like a lot of the coaches he's had recently let him conduct.
Yeah.
And I question if he is that type of player. So, we'll see. I think he's going to maintain them though. Oregon's going to put him in the red spots regardless.
Yeah.
And he'll definitely be drafted for sure. I just don't know how high, unless he somehow has a Heisman season. So who knows? UCLA Bruins also left the Pac-12. Basically, the Big Ten poached the crap of that Pac-12.
They put them out of their misery.
I don't know if you saw that old video where this I forgot who she was, but she like did like a breakdown on like the Pac-12 and what they need to do, and where like the specific teams, or actually it wasn't just the Pac-12. I think it was like a few different teams from conference realignment. They're like, Washington, you need to beg to see if you can get in as well, to the Big Ten, and just a few different things. It was worth a chuckle to go dig it up later. But 7-5 last year, so not bad. They did beat Boise State last year in the LA Bowl. They didn't have to travel far for that, obviously. I mean, they don't have the craziest schedule this upcoming year either. Looking at their outlook, a quick glance. I mean, they start off with Hawaii. We poached Indiana's quarterback, so we'll see how they're doing anyway. But then they have it's LSU, Oregon, that probably is going to put them to the ringer right away.
Holy cow! Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, they look like they have a okay enough schedule. I mean, there's going to be some tough teams regardless because it's the Big Ten. But
one thing that I hate, and hopefully it's just like this one year, I think it will be, but like the scheduling nonsense that realignment has caused. Like there's like 5 non-conference Big 12 games to start the season off.
Yeah.
And then you look at UCLA's schedule here, their last game of the season is Fresno State.
Yeah. It's an SEC note on that one.
Yeah. It hurts my brain. I don't know why. Like it's just like the touch of OCD that I have. Like I just hate this. I don't like it. Somebody fix it. But hopefully that goes away after this year. Mick Cronin, the Big Ten coach.
Yeah,
just makes sense. Right?
Crazy. I mean, it sucks because at least from a recruiting standpoint. I mean, not that like Wes is a big regional guy. He goes after who he wants to go after. Yeah. But that gives Cronin a gateway back into the region via Ohio State.
Yeah, so Cronin was never big on the region either. Was it him that said Jackson Hayes wasn't good enough to play in college? Or I think something like that. He was from Moeller, right? Was he Moeller?
I think so.
I think
it's been a while. So
now he's on the Lakers, right? I don't know, but you're right. I mean, if that would if he would so desire, certainly have the connections for sure.
And keep in mind, as you've probably all figured out at this point, is that most of this is from a football perspective, since we're kind of rolling into that to start the season. I mean, not bad. They're, again, part of that Pac-12 cannibalization. Almost everybody was good as everybody else, with the exception of Oregon and Washington that time around. Moving over to USC, the Trojans. They also left the Pac-12. And a surprising year for them, 7-5, with a quarterback that has much hype, as one could have. Surprising finish for them. You wonder how that's going to look this year, losing a talent like that. So you would want some veteran presence going into a new conference, different level of competition. Everyone, I'd say the high tier teams they're a little bit more numerous, The whole Big Ten isn't top to bottom world beaters, but there's enough, talent in there. From your Michigan State to your OSU that, and your Wisconsin at this point, that are going to give you trouble. I mean, Iowa as well. Indiana, Illinois is on the up and coming too. I don't know about Maryland; they might be taking a step back, but it's going to be a little bit harder. So you're going to want that stabilizing presence that they don't have. So it's going to be a big indictment on coaching to see how they do, especially someone that they lured away with so much money. Before he could run off to the SEC. So I don't know if it was a scare or not, but we'll see. They did beat you at Louisville to end the season in the Holiday Bowl. Last but not least, Washington Huskies. They left the Pac-12. They were 13-0 in the regular season. Were conference champions, as we all know, and a CFP finalist, but they obviously lost to Michigan in the national championship. I mean, they lose their head coach to Bama. So
yeah, that's true. And Penix gets drafted.
I mean, that's tough sledding.
I
mean, their coach has pedigree, has success. So I don't think it's going to be as bad as the situation would dictate. But it's still going to be tough sledding regardless. Obviously, any sane fan base is going to have patience and see how it goes year 2 or 3. But I'll definitely keep an eye on the Big Ten. This is going to be exciting matchups week in and week out for that outside of our conference too. So really excited for that. A little more, lots to say about this, surprisingly. Conference USA gets Kennesaw State. Again, last year they were like rocked with teams getting like plucked away and moving around. They're basically, I forgot who they were replacing. I think they were just coming up to even it out. That was already planned. Not a great year for them last year. They leave the FCS. They were an independent last year. Before that, they were in the Atlantic Sun in 22.
Okay.
They went independent in their move to FCS or FBS, and with the Atlantic Sun merging football-wise with the WAC, which that's fallen through. So we can talk more about that later, though.
This isn't the team that we played last year?
No.
That's wild.
It was actually 2 years ago. But
2 years ago. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but they just, they're not as talented as that. I mean, even that team struggled a little bit in their regular season. I think that team was had 5 wins. They play a lot of tough games, though. But they are not the same. I mean, they still have the same head coach, but as far as quality, it's not the same. And coming up they're retaining their head coach, coming up as a 3-7 team from last year. It's going to be tough sledding. I mean, Conference USA is where you're going to want to land. But basically the difference in that team from a few years ago, I would say, is their offense. They had Grant Chestnut that year, who was a really solid offensive coordinator, especially in running triple option, which led to Navy picking him up for their school. But he got canned in it this year because they didn't get the results they wanted. And now he's at WKU. So we'll see if he bounces back. As a little side tangent, but just worth mentioning because that's kind of where a lot of that quality came from when we struggled a little bit against them a few years ago. Worth noting also, Delaware and Missouri State will be jumping into the Conference USA next year. They are also coming from FCS. Delaware was a little bit surprising. Missouri State made a little bit more sense to me. But especially, I mean, for Delaware being such a northern team.
That's what I was. Yeah, I mean, like New Mexico State is also in this conference.
Yeah.
Sam Houston. Yeah.
Sam Houston had a rough outing last year. I mean, which is interesting because, I mean, Sam Houston was such a good FCS program. I mean, championship caliber consistently. It's just going to be tough to make that jump, though. It's not, especially in this age of NIL.
Yeah. Like, look, the closest team to Delaware, will that be Western Kentucky?
Pretty much.
I don't know if there's another one. Liberty, I'm not exactly sure where Liberty is. But I thought it was on the coast somewhere. Like, I don't know. But yeah, that's weird. Very, very weird. Very unique conference there. Certainly not the Conference USA I grew up with.
They're definitely USA. And Liberty's in Virginia, by the way. So they're a Virginia school. So they're on the coast. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, they're as USA as it gets, road tripping. I mean, it's funny. I've talked to WKU fans too. They were really hoping to get out as well and travel with this based on it. But they were, because one of their partners got out. I can't remember who it was. But yeah, they were hoping to leave with them and go to the MAC.
Okay.
Which would have made sense for them. Yeah. See, this is going to bother me now. Now I have to look real quick to see who they were referring to, because it's going to bother me. The MAC would have made sense, which, by the way, they had no changes, by the way.
Didn't let anyone in this go around. Yep.
Yeah, no, they're not letting anybody in. They're probably the most pure conference, I think, anyway, as far as keeping things the same. So, yeah. Anyway, we're not enough about FCS schools, FCS USA at this point, because that's what they got. They have to pull. They have to pull from FCS at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody pulls up from you. I mean, and if you remember, they did like a little video about how many teams had come through Conference USA to higher standards. So
yeah,
I mean, we're no stranger to that as well in the 90s. So when basketball kind of carried, but yeah, no changes to independence. It's UConn, UMass, and Notre Dame. Although I think UMass is supposed to be going to the MAC at some point, actually. So that change should be coming up. But currently, no changes in the MAC. Going to keep an eye on them to kind of see. Well, we play Miami pretty early, so there won't be any testing to see how that goes. I think for us, if you're to get a little sidetracked, it's going to depend on how Townsend and Pitt goes and how Miami starts out their season to really give us the warm and fuzzies. I'm sure they're going to be looking for revenge. Depends on how Sat takes that.
Hope so.
But yeah, action. Always fun to watch as just kind of when football season gets in deep. You know, you're in the winter, you're watching midweek games. Mountain West, no changes. At least that we know of. A lot of teams throughout this past process have been chosen to potentially go there. But then it never worked out. SMU didn't go. They were talking about taking on other Pac-12 teams, and that's what remains to be seen. Will Oregon State and Washington State go on to the Mountain West Conference? You know, I mean, it's just the Pac-2 right now. What are they going to do? This kind of leads us to the next on our list. Like, what's the Pac-2? What are they going to do? You know,
like they got to combine with the Mountain West, right? Like, I mean,
it regionally makes sense.
I mean, yeah, that's like the easy answer.
Mm-hmm.
Does the Mountain West do they want to become the? I mean, does it make sense for them to become the Pac, whatever, or to keep that name? I don't know. They're not going to keep, the P5 status. There's no way. Is it a hybrid name? I think it's just like it boils down to a naming convention at some point, because I mean it sucks and it's unfortunate, but the Pac-2 certainly isn't going to get you anywhere. So I would look for them. I would look for them to merge and do something with their name, or just be like the Mountain West teams. Just be like, you're just going to be a Mountain West team.
Well, they already sent their other two teams the rest of their sports as members situationally to like some of their like non-money makers.
Yeah.
They already sent them to another conference to participate in. But what for basketball and football, that's what kind of remains to be seen.
Yeah.
And this is gonna kill me. I'm mad I didn't put it in my show notes. Honestly, I can't see it off the top of my head, or at least a quick search. The WCC. That's it. There we go. Found it.
Okay. West Coast Conference.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was still a thing.
Yeah. So they're going to join as affiliates. So I mean, I imagine that's going to be some of their like lesser known sports where they can still participate in D1 status for things. Yeah. So I mean, that's like your Portlands and whatnot. So I think there might be even basketball, because you get the Zags over there too.
One of the best conference names, and I've thought this for a long time, is the Big Sky Conference.
Oh yeah,
they should definitely join the Big Sky just for being in one of the cooler names for a conference.
I know someone who worked out in their media department some years ago, and I'm always fascinated to hear stories about that.
Nice.
But he said it was a blast when he worked out there, and just they have a decent standard out there. Yeah. So I think they're joining for basketball too, actually. Because I mean, you get Gonzaga over there, so it's not bad,
Yeah.
And then of course San Francisco. So I mean, we're familiar with them at this point.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
Depends on if
St. Mary's, they're good too.
Yeah. So it depends on if they raise their standard to where they're not boxed out. Where it's like, okay, well, sorry, you're champion. This is going to be the only one allowed in, because your competition's lower. It really depends. So I'm excited to see that part. But yeah, I mean, maybe they go, Mountain West. I mean, it's a little too late at this point, right? I mean,
for this go around, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to do independent. They're just going to build schedule. Because the championship stats means nothing. Maybe they just turn into like a weird end of year bowl game where it's a rivalry trophy. The
final two.
The final two, yeah. A lot of fun possibilities with that. I'm excited from a football craziness standpoint. I'm sure they'll come up with something cool.
Yeah. Now I'm curious. So Oregon State's just their schedule this year. I mean, they're still playing Oregon, Idaho State, who I think's in the Big Sky. San Diego State, Purdue. I mean, they're everywhere, but they don't leave. Like they don't leave the west side of the country for sure.
Yeah, I think they just kind of filled it with who they could. I mean, a lot of
Boise State they end the season with. That's it. I mean, the schedule doesn't look terrible for having to put something together.
They play each other on the 23rd of November.
That's what I was looking for. Yeah. And then, Washington State's about the same. They have a start off with a Big Sky. They're playing Boise, San Jose State. They both have on there.
Mm.
That's, I mean, good for them for finding something. But that's they definitely pieced a lot of different games there together. That's tough.
Godspeed to them.
So before we jump into the SEC, I want to circle back here, and this is as good a time as any. So I saw this on Twitter that the Earth's circumference is 24,900 miles.
I know what you're going to say, yeah.
And Cal, their 5 road games this season, they will travel a combined 24,000 miles. They basically circled the globe once. in this one football season. That blew my mind. I'm assuming that this is true. That's from Josh Pate, who I mean is a big enough name. He's on CBS Sports. That's just a crazy stat. 24,000 miles. But
what was it they say the European mind can't comprehend?
Yeah. And then someone said, "Don't show that to Kyrie because
because the flat earther."
Yeah. I thought that was pretty good too. But yeah, that's kind of like that might be the extreme of the new normal, but that's what it is. 24,000 miles.
That's the ridiculousness of what the realignment has done.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah,
the
SEC doesn't have that though. The SEC is they poach some pretty regional teams in Texas and Oklahoma as well.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, they next to the MAC, I think they've pretty much got it down right. But SEC also, gets any pick of whoever they want at this point.
Yeah,
they I mean, they could pull some random team from Oxford, in the UK if they wanted to. I mean, they could call it. That's just you're not going to turn down that invite, or at least that acceptance. But yeah, our old 1 year running mates, Oklahoma Sooners, they lead the Big 12. They were 10-2 last year. After what kind of felt like a rough start, but they really figured it out.
Yeah.
They kept it rolling, but they lost to Arizona in the Alamo Bowl.
That was a very winnable game for us at Nippert.
Yeah, I mean the tell the season, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes it takes a while just to get your culture installed and get everybody playing for you. At least that's my copium going into next year. I mean, historic program. I mean, it makes sense, as south as it gets for the next quality teams outside of Florida State, Clemson, like I mentioned. I mean, it's gonna be interesting. At least they'll be able to hang. I don't doubt that. Everybody's like, "Oh, buckle up!" There, I don't see them struggling too much unless they just have the season from hell where things just kind of fall apart. 5 quarterbacks get their leg broken and offensive lines, just stuff like that. I mean, they start off on a pretty easy schedule too. Just for their talent. I mean, play Temple, Houston, Tulane, and then they hop into SEC play. With at home with Cincy. I'm sure the fan bases are going to be as excited to travel there for that. Auburn, Texas, they got South Carolina, Ole Miss, the Cupcake game of Maine towards the end of the year.
It took them no time to jump onto that SEC tradition. Late season, just cupcake week. It seems like they all do that. No, that's funny that Oklahoma jumped on that right away. That must be like a conference, just like mandate or something.
It's got to be. I mean, it's kind of interchangeable when that you take that game, though. I think it's just because Bama has theirs like third out. But I mean, they finished with a gauntlet. I mean, they have Mizzou, Bama, and LSU. The seasonal for any SEC team could be the decider of the season. So who really knows? Going to be excited to see that. Texas Longhorns leaving the Big 12 as well. 11-1 regular season conference champions on their way out. They did make a CFP appearance. Lost to Washington in that game. They'll be able to hang. They got stable quarterbacks. It'd be interesting to see if Quinn Ewers isn't the guy for whatever reason. I don't know how. I mean, unless Manning just taps into who he is supposed to be and just lets them know. And even still, I mean, if he goes down, they got the people. So regardless,
they got options.
So again, they're gonna hang. I mean, just for funsies, we'll take a peek at their schedule too.
They don't have the late season. They play UL Monroe, but that's late September.
That's like an early cupcake, usually. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they have Vanderbilt October 26th.
That's their cupcake standard.
Yeah.
As a Nashville resident now.
Let's
go Commanders, or Commodores. Sorry. No. I did get to view the outside of that stadium when my brother and sister-in-law were in town, so that was interesting. I sent the picture to my Tennessee volunteer friend because I played them with my last dynasty and whooped up on them a few times. But yeah, I mean, Colorado State to start. I mean, Colorado State, man, okay season last year. They could definitely get a trap game to start out the season. But then they got Michigan right out the gate. You obviously put something on the board like that just to have your resume builder ready, and hope that pans out. UTSA could also be a trap game, depending on how that Michigan game goes. UTSA is not a slouch when it comes to G6 now. Depending on what happens in that Michigan game, they high with a high. If they win that Michigan game and it's a thriller, maybe that UTSA game is a bit more of a trap. If they lose that game, then they'll probably try to beat up on them. You mentioned Monroe, Mississippi State, Oklahoma, which is always the middle of the season around that time anyway. Then they got Georgia, Vandy, Florida State, Arkansas, UK, and Texas A&M. It kind of softens up a little bit, or at least you're not playing the traditional juggernauts necessarily. However, who's to say who's going to emerge from this? Because Bama is under a new dynasty now.
That's true.
We'll see. We'll see how that shakes out for them. Exciting stuff, though. Sunbelt Conference, no changes whatsoever. None whatsoever. There's a lot of changes to the season this year. Outside of just the musical chairs of going to different conferences. So I figured we'd dive into at least some of the bigger ones. As you probably noticed, if you look at these schedules, if anyone's looked at these schedules, divisions are gone for pretty much everybody, except the Sun Belt. No one's doing divisions. I think they kind of took a page out of actually, I want to say it's our book a little bit. Yeah, because we didn't have divisions. I think I'll take credit for that. I think they took a page out of our book when it came to the CFP, where your best teams play. That's it. Or at least that's the idea. That your brands stay strong. You think they like the idea of a Bama losing to Texas A&M in a thriller and then still going like 11-1 and at the end of the year or 10-2, and they're like, well, Bama, they look pretty strong. I'd put a 3-loss team in there. This especially with the 12-team playoff, which we'll talk more about in a second. I think this is all they've kind of wised up, and this is really just a play to give their biggest brands, or at least presumed brands, a chance to be in it at the end of the year, despite any falls. And I mean, having a 12-team playoff is going to do that anyway, because you've opened the slots up. But this is just extra icing. You don't have a winner take all, which kind of sucks in a way. You don't have a winner take all the game between Ohio State and Michigan necessarily at that point. Where winner goes to the Big Ten conference game and plays a weaker West team, presumably. It's not everybody plays everybody, but you get to jump up the schedules a little bit. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's going to be all about how many teams you can get in. Yeah, and like conferences positioning themselves to do that right away is smart, right? I mean, if it's like divisions, like it's too many questions left.
Mm-hmm.
Like, like they're second in the division, but they beat the number one team in the other one.
Yeah.
So it's like you have loaded divisions. I mean, that's the way it's been, and it seems like it's been that way in the SEC and the Big Ten for a while.
Yeah.
Like, so it sort of eliminates the questions and lets them have an argument at least for getting more teams in or as many teams as they want. So we'll see how it actually shakes out. But I get it why they did that for sure.
Yeah. It's definitely the elitist move, like for sure. Like it's a big brother making sure you stay down. So there's no chance. But I mean, in that same breath, it works out for, maybe someone you don't expect. It's like, oh, they beat this person, this person, this person. Now, does that give room for like a 9-win or 8-win team? I don't know. Maybe even a few years you see that envelope gets pushed. So they beat number 4, 7, and 1 this year. They're still, those teams are still hot. Like, but they lost to Middle Tennessee. So like, I'm sure you'll see that at some point.
Sounds like you're describing Oklahoma State. That sounds like some sort of resume that they would have. Now they beat all the good teams, but they lost to middle Western Alabama 49-42 in week 3. But they won the Big 12.
Yeah. I mean, look, we're approaching that threshold where like it's going to be in the past for us for that CFP run, but that's exactly what happened. I think maybe it's a little bit of an ego to say like we helped push that change, but when you get someone who's not supposed to be there showing up like that, over it's like, because they were talking about, USC's got 9 wins, but they were playing the best ball like at the end of the season, like who's gonna really stop them now? Like the same thing happened during Brian Kelly's last year, or at post Brian Kelly's last year. We were that close to playing Bama in the national championship, and TCU also was a threat at that point. And so all of a sudden they're like, we need to do playoffs and have that changed around, because we can't have this happen again. Like, and they put that in the works. So, and
still made it.
Yeah, still made it. Can't keep a good Bearcat down. But
I'm kind of obsessed with the way the 12-team playoff looks, though.
Yeah, let's take a look at that.
It seems confusing, but not. But at the same time, it seems, I don't know. It's like almost like a desperate attempt to keep the bowl system, the bowl games,
keep them relevant.
Keep them relevant, or just I don't know if it's because you want the sponsorship money that they come with, or what. Like I don't necessarily.
It's always money.
It's money, but like, do we need like the Fiesta Bowl being the quarterfinal, or is it just the quarterfinals now? Like it's like we're trying to hold on to something that we don't need to hold on to anymore. But for tradition or whatever. But in every other aspect of the game, we've thrown tradition out the window.
Yeah, you bring up a great point, which actually I want to lead into a little bit. The first round itself is not sponsored by anything; it's just games. You're playing games. Yeah. Then when you go after that, you go into the quarterfinals. That's when you hit the New Year's Six bowl rotation. At that point, and this year, like you mentioned, it's going to be the Fiesta Bowl, Peach Bowl, Rose Bowl, and Sugar Bowl that are the quarterfinal games. And then the last 2 are going to be the semifinals. So it's going to be Cotton Bowl, Orange Bowl for the semis, and then the championship's just going to be the championship. It looks like, which is smart, I guess. It was probably the way to keep everybody from fighting. Like, look, no one gets the championship title game. So it looks like they're kind of pushing them down to give them relevance instead of up. Because like the way it was working is they would rotate just those 2 games to be the semifinal games for the CFP beforehand. And so Now they're like, okay, look, you're still going to have relevance at least in the playoff now, but that semifinal spot's going to still be like the top earner at that point.
So 1 through 4 get a bye.
Yes.
And 5 through
8,
whatever.
Host. Yeah.
5 through 8 host the games against the 9 through 12.
Yes.
So 5 through 12 are playing in the first round, and the lower seeds will actually host the game on campus.
Yes.
That's almost like, I know you got to play the game, but that's almost better than a bye.
Yeah.
I don't, like if you don't get a bye, like that's a really good consolation prize.
Well, it also, and I don't pretend to know the minds of the Moogles and the moneymakers, but it also gives, because this is all new, I mean, you're going to be testing out and getting feedback regardless. But, I mean, you put that on campus, you get to see what that's like to have that on campus. If, you're watching this as the committee, but maybe we expand, we just do, we move the bowl game to whoever's stadium, and that we're still playing home and ways into the quarter and semifinals, and then a neutral site, wherever. Maybe that, depending on what kind of eyes they can get on TV revenue or what kind of buzz they can generate. Who really knows what's going to come to us? I'm excited for the prospect because at least they expanded it. Yes, the downside to this is that they shut out the little guy even more. I mean, they're throwing him a bone and at least giving him a guaranteed spot now, but it's not that much. Because it's kind of like, it could be literally like, your top conference players, or top conference teams, and then North Carolina may be next up in the rankings theoretically, but sorry, the highest ranked group of 5 is Wyoming at 7-2. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever. Yeah. So they get jumped by a bad G5 team or G6 team. But I'm excited for the prospect regardless. Who doesn't want more football? I mean, they're trying to give meaning back to these bowl games. That's part of it. And who says if you don't at some point turn it into a 20-something team or 30-something team playoff, whatever, or top 25 playoff, they might let that happen. But still, I mean, the possibilities are all there. I'm excited. The way I wanted to do it, and we just don't know the full rules yet on this. We just have the seating that they're having. Is it going to be that the conference champions all get an automatic bid? Yeah. That's what I think it should be. I think it should be conference champion from, P5 or P4 all the way down to G6. All conference champions get in, and then you go in at large, and
for
at
sure.
that point, next runner up that's ranked still, outside of, whatever. I don't think we'll ever get there because that's too fair. But
I mean, there's still a committee, right?
Yeah.
There's still a committee. Yeah. So I mean, who knows what sort of witchcraft they'll pull off, and we know that they've certainly been corrupt in the past, and there's no reason to believe just because there's more spots that they won't be corrupt going forward. But yeah, that'll be. I like that idea a lot. Like, I mean, conference champion, first 4 bye.
Yeah. Number 1 ranked conference champion, first 4 bye, and then
and right on down, and then you go your at larges,
because at that point there's only 2 at larges left. If you do a conference champion, every single conference champion, there's only 2 at larges left from what I remember. So.
I guess I was being even a little more unfair. I was going P4 conference champions.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying like everybody. Like so, you still get a bye, right? So your highest ranked conference champion would get their buys, but then if you're including every single conference champion, I think there's only like 2 at-large spots left.
Okay, yeah, they're definitely not going to do that.
No, it should be that way, but they're definitely not going to do that. They should take a page from the NCAA's book. At that point, they do that, and maybe they expand to 4 at-larges instead, or 6 at-larges. Because then we create the same problem they've had before. It's like, well, we have this team that's hot and lost 1 game, So, Yeah. Last but not least, the other big change or biggest change, if you're a sicko, is Army Navy is no longer going to be a standalone game on that day.
Yeah, they used to have their own Saturday.
Their own Saturday. It was like the bridge in between conference champion and bowl season, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was always nice. Nice little. You get to watch that game and then feel patriotic and then go do your house chores.
Yeah. Yeah.
They pushed that to start the bowl season with 2 other bowl games.
Okay.
Which is unfortunate. Because those teams don't usually, outside of Air Force is the only one that plays a bowl game, usually, if they're good enough.
Yeah.
So, although, I mean, they're not the only military academies that exist in the college football world. In D3, there's it's like the Navy, what is it? The Merchant Marines versus like an offshoot of like the Navy. Or no, versus Coast Guard, I think. So these are smaller divisions of the armed forces. So it's interesting. I think it's like the Senators Cup or something like that. So
pretty cool.
Yeah. So
that's I do like watching that game. They always bring out like fire uniforms, the helmets.
Mm-hmm.
They go all out for it. Just got to share the Saturday now. Like that's. When I first read it, I was like, whenever they announced that change, I thought like it wasn't like guaranteed to happen or something. And I was like, what? Whoa. Let's pump the brakes there. But now it's just, I mean, I'm glad the game's not going away. Glad that, still have it happening, but just sharing the Saturday now. I'll take what we can get, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they're using the, them joining the same conference as an excuse now.
Yeah.
So, which will be interesting because I wonder if he'll still play for a conference championship now at that point.
That'll be
because that has implications. Or actually, you know what I think it is? I think that won't have implications for them.
So it's like a non-conference game.
Yeah, I think that's what they said was going to happen. I'll have to go back and look, but I think that's what was going to be the case. So, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. All right. Well,
weird stuff indeed.
Yeah. That's really all that we have, right? We broke it down top to bottom for the conference realignment. We have some stuff in the works here coming up. Like I said, we'll blink and football team will be at camp and we'll get all sort of, updates and stuff like that. We have TBT coming up. I was worried about this last week. I am officially credentialed for the TBT. I have a fundraiser later or that same day for the basketball team that I coach. So I might be a little late to Fifth Third Arena, but the plan is to definitely use those credentials. Maybe, like you said, talk to Bearcat Bunch, see if he can't get there early or something. So we'll have boots on the ground there for that as the Bearcats try to make another run or in the TBT. So plenty of stuff to keep going here. And like I said, we're going to definitely get into the weeds of football once we're a little bit closer.
Sounds like a plan.
Heck yeah, brother. I will see you next week.
All right.
Cheers. Go Bearcats.
Cheers. Go Bearcats.